Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of RC Classic Garage. Today we're back on the Alfa Romeo 1750 GTV barn find project. Now if you've been following this series, you'll know that we dragged this car out of a barn where it had been sitting for over 40 years. And we're bringing it back to life right here on the channel. Now in the last episode, we completed the metalwork of all of this car. We painted the underside in Raptor liner, and we rebuilt and refitted the rear suspension. And it is looking really good. But the clock is ticking because this car has been booked in for painting with Painting Classic Cars in just a few weeks' time. And we still need to paint the engine bay, rebuild and fit the front suspension. So today, engine bay, front suspension, rolling again. Let's get into it. Starting in the engine bay, the first job was to take everything right back to bare metal. Now, the previous weeks, I'd already been stripping most of the old paint and dealt with a lot of surface rust. So getting it back clean, shiny, was actually pretty straightforward. And it really means no surprises hiding underneath and a perfect base to start the next stage, which is laying down a thin skim of filler over the rough sections. Nothing heavy here, just enough to level things and tidy up areas that time hadn't been so kind to. Once that was done, a lot of the exposed metal was coated again with rust prevention, just to make sure everything was properly protected going forward. Then it was time for the first round of sanding, feeling for high and low spots and getting a sense of where more attention is needed. As expected, a few small gaps and imperfections showed up, so those were filled in again, followed by even more sanding. It's a repetitive process, but each pass gets the surface smoother, straighter, and one step closer to paint. The first proper coating to go down was anti-corrosive epoxy primer, sprayed all over the bare metal and across the entire engine bay. This stuff is crucial at this stage because it seals the metal completely, stopping moisture and oxygen from getting in and causing rust down the line. Unlike normal primers, epoxy primer actually bonds to the metal, creating a tough, durable barrier that protects everything underneath. It also gives us a stable, uniform surface to work from, whether that's for more filler, high build primer, or eventual top coat. So with the whole engine bay sealed and protected, we've got a solid foundation to build on, and that's exactly what you want before moving any further. Next, we sprayed a very light splatter of paint over the entire surface. This works as a guide coat, and once you start sanding, it immediately shows up any high and low spots left in the epoxy primer. The high spots are sanded back quickly, while the low spots stay dark, making it easy to see exactly where more work is needed. Each of those imperfections is dealt with individually. Small, low spots are skimmed with filler, while the areas get a coat of filler primer to help level things out without adding unnecessary thickness. Once it's cured, it's all sanded back again, slowly, carefully, and evenly, constantly checking the surface by hand as much as by eye. By the end of it, the engine bay is as smooth and uniform as possible, giving us the best possible base for the next layers of paint. With the surfaces prepped and smoothed, it's then onto seam sealing. And this is where all the joints and panel lines are sealed up properly, not just for protection, but also to give the engine bay a neat finish. The sealer stops moisture getting into the seams and helps prevent future corrosion, while also visually cleaning up all the lines. Taking the time to do this neatly makes a huge difference while everything is painted. We then move on to spraying 3 coats of 2K 2-part grey primer across the entire engine bay. This builds up durable, even layer that ties all the previous work together and gives it a uniform surface to then work from. Once it's cured, everything gets a final sand using very fine paper, just to knock back any texture and leave the surface perfectly smooth. At this point, the entire engine bay is properly prepped and ready for paint. Because we're about to start spraying yellow paint, protecting the rest of the car becomes absolutely critical. Yellow overspray gets everywhere, So before any paint goes on, everything is carefully masked up. The suspension, chassis, surrounding areas all covered with large dust sheets, and every opening is sealed off properly. And then we can finally move on to the most satisfying part of the process, spraying the color. The engine bay gets 3 coats of yellow Ochre AR109, applied slowly and evenly. Watching the color build is incredibly rewarding. The first coat just hints at what's coming, but with each layer the color deepens, becomes richer, and starts really coming alive. There's something special about knowing that this just isn't any yellow. It's the factory correct color the car left with originally. As the final coat goes on, the engine bay is completely transformed. And for the first time, it starts to actually look and feel like a car again rather than a project. Seeing it return to its original color makes all this preparation worthwhile. The final bit of bodywork was covering the old aerial hole in the roof. Now the car still has a great original headliner that just needs a good clean. And Adam from Veloce Sport said if we can save it, we absolutely should, because fitting a new one is a massive job. And the catch? Well, we can't weld on the roof, or the headliner will catch fire. So we went with a very strong 2-part panel bond and glued a round plate over the hole instead. Now if this stuff can hold cars together, it is more than capable enough for a small roof repair. It saves the entire headliner. So a small challenge, but a very satisfying solution. While all of that was going on, my job was to strip the front suspension. Both sides had to come apart completely, right down to the individual components, so everything could be properly cleaned, inspected and rebuilt. And as you'd expect on a car this age, none of it was straightforward. Pretty much every bolt put up a fight. Years of dirt, corrosion and old grease meant nothing wanted to move willingly, so it was a case of working methodically. Plenty prenutating oil, a lot of heat where needed, and when all else fails, some careful encouragement with a hammer. It's slow, messy work and definitely not the glamorous side of a restoration. But little by little, things started to come apart. Once the first few stubborn components gave in, the rest followed, and eventually both sides were fully stripped into individual pieces. Seeing everything laid out on the floor is always satisfying. It marks a real turning point. From here, it was time to get the grinding wheel out and start cleaning down each individual component. Years of dirt, rust and old paint had to come off, including the old bolts. And I went back to my favorite solution of removing rust, which makes a huge difference when you're reusing original hardware. Next up was stripping out the old bushes, and they put up a massive fight. They were completely seized in place, and no amount of gentle persuasion was going to shift them. In the end, my only option was a lot of heat and a proper press. So I took everything over to Sapia Motors, where Joe once again came to the rescue and helped press them out. I then painted up all the suspension components, and once again using Hammerite satin finish, giving them this clean, durable look. And of course, once the arms were returned from Sapia Motors, they were greased up and fitted with new end caps. And now I was ready to start installing the Veloce Sport Fast Road suspension kit. We now move on to fitting the front suspension. And as I mentioned in the last episode, you saw me fitting the rear of the Veloce Sport suspension kit. Now fitting the rear suspension is actually less difficult, but definitely more awkward. The front, on the other hand, has more components, more adjustment, and a bit more thinking involved. But it's also where you really start to see and feel the transformation. Before we dive in, let's quickly run through what's included in the kit, because it's a seriously comprehensive setup. We've got Koni shock absorbers, matched with lower Eibach spring set, complete with front alloy spacers, rubber seats, and metal seats, all designed to work together properly, rather than mixing old and new parts. For improved stability, the kit includes Eibach Sport's front anti-roll bar, upgraded ball joint drop links, and Superflex poly bushes. for both the front anti-roll bar and rear T-bar. That should really tighten things up without turning the car into something unpleasant on the road. The first job, fairly straightforward. I bolt the steering box back into place, securing it on both sides, then refitting the steering arm. This time with new track rod ends, which removes all the play from the system. Next, I move on to the new top suspension arm, and this is where things get a bit more interesting. This one is fully adjustable. But a bit of a tip to make things easier. This adjustable top arm is easily assembled off the car. We fit the new clips, then slide over the caster arms over the top of the arm and bolt the two together as a single unit. Doing it this way is far easier than trying to fight it in the wheel well area. Once assembled, the whole unit goes into the car. One bolt through the engine bay side and the other two bolts supplied with a kit to hold in the new caster arm ball joints. Next, we refit the lower control arms with their brand new bushes. They bolt straight back in using 4 bolts, so it's a pretty straightforward job. Once that's secure, we can install the new lower ball joint. Just remember to fit the bump stop over the 2 bolts that hold it in place before tightening everything up. Next, we connect the top and bottom arms using the steering knuckle, which carries the brakes and wheel hub. It's a simple process. 2 bolts, 1 on each ball joint, torque to spec, and this is the suspension really starting to come back together. Next up, we're fitting the new lower fast road springs. The kit actually comes with all the new rubbers and retainers, which is great, but I decided to replace the spring plates as well because the original ones were pretty much rusted through. Now this is one of those very Alfa Romeo quirks. The plates are different left to right. On the driver's side it's quite shallow, while the passenger side it's a much deeper dish, so it's important not to mix those up. I then use the threaded bar method to carefully pull it up and into place. It's slow and controlled, but once up I use the original cleaned up nuts and bolts to retain it. With the springs in, we move on to fitting the new Coney shock, again using all new rubbers, and it's a nice straightforward job. The shock goes up from underneath and then the top mount goes on with new rubbers. Everything lines up as it should, and once it's bolted in and tightened up, this corner is really starting to come together. Then it's on with the brake disc backing plate, followed by the steering connector. And then on with the new tie rod ends and connecting it up to the steering box. And then consistent with the rear, I've bought new brake discs and calipers. But for now, we're just making the car rolling, so we only need to fit the discs. But before they go on, we need to fit the hub, which has been fitted with new wheel bearings. Now it can be fitted back on the car, everything torqued up properly, and then the whole process is simply repeated on the other side. At this stage, we're ready to refit the wheels, and I'm using the spare set of chromodoras for now. I'm not fitting the original rims, nor the GTA replicas just yet. We can then finally remove the axle stands it's been standing on for the last few months. Now this car is officially back on its wheels, rolling and steering, which feels like a big milestone. And with that done, I'm now confident that I'll be ready for it to go for paint on the 16th of February, just 3 weeks away. I also take the opportunity to refit a few bits in the engine bay. Things like retaping the wiring room with fresh tape. The wiring itself is all good, and it just needs tidying up and placing roughly where it belongs for now. And of course, I couldn't help myself. A new badge has to go on. And then same process for inside the car and inside the boot. Tape up the wiring harness, but also put in all new water bungs. So let's do a quick walk around, because I am genuinely chuffed at how this has turned out. Especially when you remember it's been sprayed right here in the garage, not a proper booth. So I'm really happy with the result. The suspension is looking great again, and the car is rolling and steering once again. Underneath, everything's looking really tidy, and I'm happy with the Raptor liner choice. It's come out exactly as I'd hoped. Inside, it's looking okay for now, but all of this will eventually be covered with interior trim and carpet anyway. And same story with the boot. Everything in here will be hidden under mats in the future, but overall, it feels like a massive step forward for this car. So guys, we'll call that an episode, and I'm really happy with the progress that we have made on this car. And now I'm convinced that we will be ready for this car to go for exterior painting to Painting Classic Cars in just a few weeks' time on the 16th of February. I would also like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to Paul from PA Classic Welding. He has done a tremendous job on the welding of this car, and I'm going to leave a link in the description to this video of all of his details. Because guys, I think his work has been tremendous, and you've seen the quality of what he's done. So if you need any welding in the Surrey and surrounding areas, I cannot highly recommend him enough. I'd also like to thank Adam and the guys from Veloce Sport who have supplied the suspension kit that's been fitted to this car. Now, he's also been on call to help me as I've gone through fitting it, and it is looking absolutely fantastic, and I'm really chuffed with the quality of that kit. And guys, a big thank you to all of you who have followed the story of this barn find and followed through the 18 or 19 episodes wherever we are. Your comments and your support have been absolutely tremendous. So thank you to all of you. And guys, we got to an exciting part of this car, because in just a few weeks, it goes off for painting. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Please comment below. And I can't wait to share the rest of the journey with you. Ciao.